It's a great question, in fact. Right, one of the things that makes the book so interesting from our point of view was the relationship between Jim Baker and George H.W. Bush, which you'll see more in the book. It is a friendship. Like, there's no Secretary of State who was personal friends with the president as almost a peer in American history quite like this. So that's a really unique relationship. W, of course, was a kid when Jim Baker first got to know his father. He would be the kid who would be there for family, Thanksgiving football games or, Christmas cocktails or whenever the families got together, roughly the age of his, older kids. And they, so obviously he saw him as a, in some ways, as a lot of people did at that time, kind of a ne'er-do-well young guy who hadn't got his act together at first. But as W did get his act together and became successful at politics, Baker's main priority was trying not to get in his way, not to look like the guy who is telling Junior what to do, because he didn't want to get crosswise with either his friend or his friend's son. And so it was complicated for him because he didn't agree with everything that President Bush 43 did. And particularly when they had the Iraq Study Group to look at the war in Iraq, and Jim Baker was put in charge of that along with Lee Hamilton, he went to W first and said, President Bush 43 first, and said, is this okay? Do you want me to do this? Because he did not want to be looking like he was his dad's friend chiding him. But that was sort of the dynamic, and it was kind of hard to avoid it. So when we interviewed him, in fact, at one point at the Baker Institute down in Rice University in Houston, there's a whole wall of cartoons. Baker loves political cartoons from the newspapers, a whole wall of cartoons, the thrust of which were always Jim Baker grown up teaching baby Bush what to do. And they're all very funny, but they weren't funny to President Bush 43, obviously. And one time Baker told us that President Bush 43 came to visit, and Baker was worried he would see this wall of cartoons, so he made sure to line up a receiving line on the other side so he would never look at the wall behind him and see what was there. So he was always respectful of President Bush 43. He actually does like him a lot. They went fishing together even in retirement. But obviously they had a different point of view about things like the Iraq War.